So people like to make you think that you need to be having kids soon, and while I like goats, my house is way too small to have baby goats. G'day and welcome to the world of Loco Lari. Today's topic is adoption, and full disclaimer, I was adopted myself. And no, I'm not messed up. Well, I am a bit messed up, but that has nothing to do with being adopted. Perhaps a little bit. But the point is, I'm very glad I was adopted. My mum who adopted me was the best mother I could imagine and my best friend, and I wouldn't have my life any other way, except that I'd still want my mum to be alive, the mum who adopted me. But that's a story for another day. Anyway, I was adopted when I was a little baby. I was so young that I remember nothing about life before adoption. Like, my memory is generally terrible anyway, but I imagine most people can't remember the first few weeks of their lives. If you're different, let me know. That would be super interesting to hear. But today I want to talk about adoption in general, because now that I'm getting older, and by older I mean close to 30 when your body is a ticking time bomb as a woman, well, that's how society likes to make you feel anyway. Now that I'm getting to that age, the topic of having kids sometimes comes up, and by sometimes I mean a lot. I'm looking at you, mother-in-law. Anyway, so people like to make you think that you need to be having kids soon, and while I like goats, my house is way too small to have baby goats running around. I've had the conversation about kids with a few people, and sometimes the topic of adoption comes up, and one sentence that I hate, please never say this to me, is when people say, adoption is nice, but I really want to have my own kids. And I find that very insulting. So let me explain why. The definition of adoption is to legally take another's child, and that is legally, don't go stealing children and saying you've adopted them, and to bring that child up as your own. As your own. That means that when you adopt a child, it becomes your own. So to anyone going around saying, adoption is nice, but I really want to have my own kids, please never adopt, because you clearly don't know how to do it properly. Imagine like if someone was walking around introducing their children and they're like, oh, this is my son Andy, and I had him when I was 22, and this is a child we call Henry. And the other person's like, so whose son is Henry? And then they're like, well, legally he's ours. So why not introduce him as your son? Because he's not our son, he's just a child that lives with us and has our last name, and we take responsibility for him and tell him what to do and we feed him and shit. Yeah, that's your son. Like, okay, let me give another example. A lot of people have pets, right? And I'm not in any way saying children are like pets, because pets are way nicer and less annoying, but please hear me out here. Who views their dog as not really theirs because they or their partner didn't give birth to it? Once you adopt the dog, it's your dog and it's part of your family. And I know a lot of people look like their dogs, that's a thing, but generally your dog is going to be a lot hairier than you, it'll probably be a different color to you, and you're not its mother, biologically anyway. I know a lot of people who would beg to differ about being their dog's mother. But anyway, we all manage to love our dogs or cats and talk to them like they're our babies. I've never heard a pet owner reminding their pet to be grateful because they could be living on the streets with no money and maybe turning to prostitution or selling drugs, if not for you saving them. So if we can manage to love our pets and view them as our pets, surely we can love a child that we didn't give birth to and view it as our child or our family. I just want to say adoption is great. It means you've helped out a child that might otherwise have struggled in life or maybe may not have had a life at all. I mean, I was found on the side of the road. So who knows, if I wasn't adopted, I might not be doing this podcast right now. Well, I definitely wouldn't be doing this podcast. I wouldn't speak English, but I may not be around. But if you can't love the child as your own, and if you don't view the child as your own, then you should not be adopting. To be clear, I'm saying once you adopt a child, you have your own child. The child you adopted is your own child. And that's all I have to say on that. If you would like to contact me about anything at all, please send me an email at morganandlarry@gmail.com. That's MORGAN and AND, Larry, LARI, @gmail.com. I would love to hear your thoughts or something else you'd like to know about me, or you can share something with me about you, and maybe you would like me to talk about that on the podcast. Okay, bye!